Samsy. Hey guys. Alright, we got the time machine. Part 7 for us. Coming to you from big old Ronnie. And what are we doing? Oh, I have not given you the full experience of driving into Winn Campground, so we'll do that today. Now in this story, this time machine, he was just trying to decipher things out, and he was coming to the conclusion that not everything is adding up ones and zeros here, because it had all these people around that just didn't seem to have any purpose whatsoever, and he could not figure out how things were still working. And then there was the whole bit of somebody stole this time machine. So here we go. So, why, for the life of me, I could not imagine those waterless wells, too, those flickering pillars. I felt I lacked a clue. I felt, how shall I put it? Suppose you found an inscription with sentences here and there in excellent plain English, and interpolated therewith others made up of words, of letters even, absolutely unknown to you. Well, on the third day of my visit, that was how the world of 802 7 hang on, let me do that one again. 802,701 presented itself to me. That day I made a friend of a sort. It happened that, as I was watching some of the little people bathing in a shallow, one of them was seized with cramp and began drifting downstream. The main current ran rather swiftly, but not too strongly for even a moderate swimmer. It will give you an idea, therefore, of the strange deficiency of these creatures when I tell you that none made the slightest attempt to rescue the weakly crying little thing, which was drowning before their eyes. When I realized this, I hurriedly slipped off my clothes, and, wading in at a point lower down, caught the poor mite and drew her safe to land. A little rubbing of the limbs soon brought her round, and I had the satisfaction of seeing she was all right before I left her. I had got to such a low estimate of her kind that I did not expect any gratitude from her. In that, however, I was wrong. This happened in the morning. In the afternoon, I met my little woman, and as I believe it was, as I was returning towards my center from an exploration, and she received me with cries of delight and presented me with a big garland of flowers, evidently made for me and me alone. This thing took my imagination. Very possibly I had been feeling desolate. At any rate, I did my best to display my appreciation of the gift. Oh boy. Okay, yeah, so we just turned in onto the gravel road. And I know I got some time now because it's a slow trek on in there, and it's creaky and cracky, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And the story's good. So there we go. At any rate, I did my best to display my appreciation of the gift. We were soon seated together in a little stone arbor, engaged in conversation, chiefly of smiles. The creature's friendliness affected me exactly as a child's might have done. We passed each other flowers, and she kissed my hands. I did the same to hers. Then I tried to talk, and found that her name was Weena, which, though I don't know what it meant, somehow seemed appropriate enough. That was the beginning of a queer friendship which lasted a week, and ended as I will tell you. She was exactly like a child. She wanted to be with me always. She tried to follow me everywhere, and on my next journey out and about, it went to my heart to tire her down. and leave her at last, exhausted and calling after me rather plaintively. But the problems of the world had to be mastered. I had not, I said to myself, come into the future to carry on a miniature flirtation. Yet her distress when I left her was very great. Her expostulations at the parting were sometimes frantic, and I think altogether I had as much trouble as comfort from her devotion. Nevertheless, she was, however, somehow a very great comfort. I thought it was mere childish affection that made her cling to me, until it was too late. I did not clearly know what I had inflicted upon her when I left her, nor until it was too late did I clearly understand what she was to me. For by merely seeming fond of me and showing in her weak, futile way that she cared for me, the little doll of a creature presently gave my return to the neighborhood of the White Sphinx almost a feeling of coming home, and I would watch for her tiny figure of white and gold so soon as I came over the hill. Come over the hill? Yeah, we about maybe halfway. We getting there. It gets a lot worse, and then finally we get into the campground area where the road is just better. It was from her too that I learned that fear had not yet left the world. She was fearless enough in the daylight, and she had the oddest confidence in me. For once, in a foolish moment, I made threatening grimaces at her, and she simply laughed at them. But she dreaded the dark, dreaded shadows, dreaded black things. Darkness to her was the one thing dreadful. It was a singularly passionate emotion, and it set me thinking and observing. I discovered then, among other things, that these little people gathered into the great houses after dark and slept in droves. To enter upon them without a light was to put them into a tumult of apprehension. I never found one out of doors, or one sleeping alone within doors after dark. Yet I was still such a blockhead that I missed the lesson of that fear, and, in spite of Weena's distress, I insisted upon sleeping away from these slumbering multitudes. It troubled her greatly, but in the end her odd affection for me triumphed, and for 5 of the nights of our acquaintance, including the last night of all, she slept with her head pillowed on my arm. But my story slips away from me as I speak of her. It must have been the night before her rescue that I was awakened about dawn. I had been restless, dreaming most disagreeably that I was drowned, and that sea anemones were feeling over my face with their soft palps. Wow. I woke with a start, and with an odd fancy that some grayish animal had just rushed out of the chamber. I tried to get to sleep again, but I felt restless and uncomfortable. It was that dim gray hour when things are just creeping out of darkness, when everything is colorless and clear-cut and yet unreal. I got up, I went down into the great hall, and so out upon the flagstones in front of the palace. I thought I would make a virtue of necessity and see the sunrise. Oh yeah, now we into the campground. We came across the cattle guard there, so it kind of tries to keep the cows out. And I don't think I've ever seen cows in the campground. A lot of deer and elk, that's for sure. The moon was setting, and the dying moonlight and the first pallor of dawn were mingled in a ghastly half-light. The bushes were inky black, the ground a somber gray, the sky colorless and cheerless, and up the hill I thought I could see ghosts. There, several times, as I scanned the slope, I saw white figures. Twice I fancied I saw a solitary white ape-like creature running rather quickly up the hill. And once, near the ruins, I saw a leash of them carrying some dark body. They moved hastily. I did not see what became of them. It seemed that they vanished among the bushes. The dawn was still indistinct, you must understand. I was feeling that chill and uncertain early morning feeling that you may have known. I doubted my eyes. Oh, yeah, we stopping and talking to the host lady with her little dog named Winn, of course. I think she's been the host here for probably 4 or 5 years now. They don't normally do that where they come back to the same one all the time like that, but a lot of the, I'm not sure about everywhere else, but in Arizona, a lot of the forest campgrounds have been turned over to a third party camping, booking, some kind of organization. They're not federal employees. They're not state employees. They're just, I'm not sure who it is. But I'd like to see more skin in the game, as it were. Anyway, they are our national forests. I think there's enough unemployed people out there. All right. I doubted my eyes. As the eastern sky grew brighter and the light of the day came on, and its vivid coloring returned upon the world once more, I scanned the view keenly. But I saw no vestige of my white figures. They were mere creatures of the half-light. They must have been ghosts, I said. I wonder whence they dated. Like, that's the most plausible thing they could be, is ghosts, okay? For a queer notion of Grant Allen's came into my head and amused me. If each generation die and leave ghosts, he argued, the world at last will get overcrowded with them. On that theory, they would have grown innumerable some 800,000 years hence, and it was no great wonder to see 4 at once. But the jest was unsatisfying, and I was thinking of these figures all the morning, until Weena's rescue drove them out of my head. I associated them in some indefinite way with the white animal I had startled in my first passionate search for the time machine. But Weena was a pleasant substitute. Yet, all the same, they were soon destined to take far deadlier possession of my mind. So we're rolling in to the campground. On the left there was the group sites, and to the right's that great big old meadow, and some of the other pictures and videos and stuff that you see of this Winn Campground. You see just a bunch of elk in there, of course cows and stuff. And I thought, yeah, it's there's just everything, flowers, the whole bit. It's a beautiful spot. Deadlier possession of my mind. I think I have said how much hotter than our own was the weather of this golden age. I cannot account for it. It may be that the sun was hotter, or the earth nearer the sun. It is usual to assume that the sun will go on cooling steadily in the future. But people unfamiliar with such speculations as those of the younger Darwin forget that the planets must ultimately fall back one by one into the parent body. As these catastrophes occur, the sun will blaze with renewed energy, and it may be that some inner planet has suffered this fate. Whatever the reason, the fact remains that the sun was very much hotter than we know it. Oh boy, we turning in there now. Well, one very hot morning, my 4th, I think, as I was seeking shelter from the heat and glare in a colossal rune near the great house where I slept and fed, there happened this strange thing. Clambering among these heaps of masonry, I found a narrow gallery whose end and side windows were blocked by fallen masses of stone. By contrast with the brilliancy outside, it seemed at first impenetrable. No, impenetrably dark to me. I entered it, groping, for the change from a light to blackness made spots of color swim before me. Suddenly I halted spellbound. A pair of eyes, luminous by reflection against the daylight, was watching me out of the darkness. The old instinctive dread of wild beasts came upon me. I clenched my hands and steadfastly looked into the glaring eyeballs. I was afraid to turn. Then the thought of the absolute security in which humanity appeared to be living came to my mind. And then I remembered the strange terror of the dark. Oh, we parked. All right, let's just see where we're at with this thing, because I don't know how much we can do with just being parked here. It seems that's asking a lot, even of myself. Okay. Oh, geez. Boy, we sit here for quite some time by the looks of it. Well, that seems rather odd. What are we going to do for this whole time? Are we going to just talk it up? How long has it been? Well, let's just find us a good spot to end then, and we'll go from there. Okay, where were we? Oh, okay, strange terror of the dark. Overcoming my fear, to some extent, I advanced a step and spoke. I will admit that my voice was harsh and ill-controlled. I put out my hand and touched something soft. At once the eyes darted sideways, and something white ran past me. I turned with my heart in my mouth. I saw a queer little ape-like figure, its head held down in a peculiar manner, running across the sunlit space behind me. It blundered against a block of granite, staggered aside, and in a moment was hidden in a black shadow beneath another pile of ruined masonry. My impression of it is, of course, imperfect, but I know it was a dull white, and I had strange, large, grayish red eyes. Also, that there was flaxen hair on its head and down its back. But, as I say, it went too fast for me to see distinctly. I cannot even say whether it ran on all fours, or whether with forearms held very low. After an instant's pause, I followed it into the second heap of ruins. I could not find it at first, but after a time, in a profound obscurity, I came upon one of those round, well-like openings, of which I have told you, half closed by a fallen pillar. A sudden thought came to me. Could this thing have vanished down the shaft? All right, that's enough. We're going to leave it right there. Really? Because we could just keep going. No, that's good for now, guys. Thanks for coming. SMC.